I think we can get started, and then we'll just add people as the join. So hello, everyone. Welcome to you all. A warm welcome, as you can see from this slide. My name is Christine Kohlzaug, and I'm the Executive Director at Renewables San Mateo County, or SSMC for short. So we are really grateful to have you all come today to our last actually happy hour of the year. And we have like a great turnout, so we're very much looking forward to that. And we are also very grateful to have such esteemed guest speakers with us today to tackle the important question of how to truly get clean energy around the clock, because that's really what it's going to take to help us seriously tackle the climate change issue. And tonight, we are fortunate enough to have State Senator Josh Becker joining us, together with Peninsula Clean Energy CEO Jan Pepper. So before we dive in, here I wanted to share with you the amazing happy hour team. And that's the team that's been working hard behind the scenes to bring you the happy hours. So I want to start with Kirsten Keith. She is our new vice chair at SSMC and is also the liaison with the happy hour program. And she's also a past mayor of Menlo Park. Then we also have Marjorie Matic. She is my executive assistant. And as you could see with the opening slide and this slide deck, she's also the master of PowerPoint. And then we have Leanne. Leanne is one of my all-star volunteers. She's been working with us and helping on many, many different fronts, many different programs. Ouch. And I definitely would encourage you to talk with her if you're interested in volunteering with us. And we love our volunteers, so please don't hold back. There is a place for everyone at SSMC, and we would just love to have you join and work with us to make some positive change on the ground. And last but not least, we also have Susie Hodges. She has been interning with us and is helping quite a lot, including with this happy hour. With that, a few words about Sustainable San Mateo County and what we are about. So briefly though, we'll put in the chat our website address so you can get a little bit, so you can learn a little bit more about SSMC and its positive impact on our communities. But in a nutshell, we have a series of programs that fall in different but complementary buckets, so to speak. And what all of these programs have in common is they are aimed at realizing our vision of a sustainable future for everyone in San Mateo County. So first, we have our indicators report and the new dashboard programs. There are data and metrics centric, and the look at the sustainability performance of our cities and the county as a whole. Then complementing this, we have our Sustainability Ideas Bank, which offers a range of proven solid solutions, including ordinances, programs, processes, standard operating procedures, you name it. And all of this is aimed at accelerating sustainability. And what's really great about it is that you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Often there are like great solutions out there that are ready just to be copied, to be scaled up, in some cases scaled down, and you can just run with them. Then we also have an annual awards program to recognize our sustainability leaders. We love to celebrate our sustainability champions because we think it's inspiring to see what others have done to foster sustainability. And our awards program is meant for individuals as well as organizations. In 2022, we'll actually have our awards program in May. And we are also thrilled because we'll also act as the platform for Peninsula Clean Energy's All Electric Award. So it should be a ton of fun, and we sure hope that you will be able to make it. And then, of course, you'll find us advocating for sustainability policies and initiatives that are in line with our mission. So now I just wanted to take a short minute to recognize some of our key sponsors. Without the partnerships, really our work would not be possible. And these are our 2021 indicators report sponsors. We'll add in the chat where you can read more about our report on the topic of equitable housing, which was, by the way, just released a few weeks ago. And then here we have our first tier awards sponsors. And as you can see at the bottom of the PowerPoint, whoops, maybe here. So you'll see the complete list of our sponsors on our website. So again, thank you to our sponsors for making our work possible. And now that's my little plug here. Oops. Let's see. Now it's frozen. With me, one sec. There we go. All right, that's the time where I do my little plug. So we rely on everyone's support to be able to continue to bring you these programs. So if you can, and if you so feel inclined, we'd appreciate if you would do a donation. You can text support SSMC to 44321, or you can also check our website with more ways to donate. Thank you for considering making a donation. And then before I hand it over to Kirsten, if she's arrived in the meantime, so we have an announcement. Our next happy hour, the first one for 2022, is going to be on January 20th from 5:30 to 6:30. So please save the date and we'll look back with you with some more details soon. So I think with that, I'll hand it over to Kirsten. And again, thank you for being here with us tonight. And I hope that meant to see many of you in January.
Great. Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Great to be here with all of you tonight. And we're so thrilled to have Senator Becker with us. Thank you so much, Senator Becker, for joining us tonight. I want to give a brief introduction to Senator Becker, who is representing the Senate District 13 in the state of California. He was part of the California delegation at the UN Climate Change Conference of the Parties in Glasgow. And so we're really excited to hear about that. He represents residents of California's 13th Senate District, which comprises most of San Mateo County and the northern part of Santa Clara County. He chairs the Senate Subcommittee on the Clean Energy Future and serves as vice chair of the Joint Legislative Committee on Climate Change Policies. During Senator Becker's first year in office, he proposed legislation focused on accelerating California's transition to 100% clean energy and net zero emissions, voter access and justice reforms, and leveraging technology to provide greater economic mobility for all Californians. The governor signed 5 of his bills into law, including ones aimed at easing barriers to electrification, creating affordable intergenerational housing, and decarbonizing cement. Josh earned a JD MBA from Stanford University in 1999. While he was a student, he co-founded the Stanford Board Fellows Program, which trains students to serve on boards of local nonprofits, engaging them in social progress at the beginning of their careers rather than at the end. Josh is a 20-year resident of Menlo Park, where he lives with his wife, Jonna, and their 2 children, Leo and Aaron, and the family dog, Percy. And we are just thrilled to have you. So with that, I know you're here with us for a short time, so we want to go right to you.
All right. Can people hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Good to see you.
And I can share my screen, correct?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
Excellent. First of all, you look quite festive today for this happy hour.
Oh, well, thank you. I just got back from court.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Literally.
I wish I was more dressed up, but
oh, you look fabulous.
Yeah.
Love the backdrop.
Well, thank you. And it's great to see so many folks here. And this is, the core of people, working in the county who care about these issues, who are working every day. I know people in their own lives, with their own consumption and their own habits, as well as working at all levels of government. And so I think that's what's so exciting about this organization and the area that we live in, because I'm working, I'll obviously talk about state and obviously my observations from Glasgow. But, we're innovating at all levels, and that's what it's going to take. We're innovating at the city level, we're innovating at the county level, the CCA's doing unbelievable work, and we'll hear from Jan later today. So it's just like happening at every level. And that's what it's going to take, because we're literally talking about transforming every aspect of our society, nothing short of that. So anyway, so I will share a presentation. I'll try to do it for about 10 minutes, and then do a little Q&A and go from there. Can you see my screen? Yep. Okay, great. So we prepared this. I'll run through it fairly quickly. And some of you might have heard the town hall that I did on this, but a little background, I think, for this group, probably not necessary, but as the Paris Accord set out this framework, and then this was really about getting back together, talking about progress we made, making bigger commitments, and showing real action. And I guess that was my point of view, is just that I knew pledges weren't going to get to where we need to be, but could we show actual action, not just talk, and a commitment to come back in the very near future and demonstrate even more action. So that's really what we're looking for. And there was some notable progress. The U.S. showed up. Of course, under Trump, we had pulled out of Paris, and now we're back in, and the U.S. was all over this event, even though we've got a lot more to do at the federal level. India showed up, made a pledge that it's far off, and they blocked some of the watered down some of the language around coal, but they were there. The global methane pledge was significant, reducing methane emissions by 30% by 2030. A lot of the top emitters are covered, although not Russia, India, China, of course, not there overall, at their top leadership, being about 1/3 of the global emissions. The deforestation pledge was very, very significant, because we had 110 countries, including countries that represent 85% of the world's forests, that are covered. So that was a very significant pledge. And then the financial industry stepping up, and we'll see if this happens, but they pledged to mobilize all this money to finance the transition and really hold their portfolio companies responsible, and actually, or the companies they're invested in, responsible. And we are starting to see that. I actually did feel that was sort of one of the bright spots before then and after then, of companies taking a real action. I'm saying broadly, I'm speaking, of course. Then car manufacturers specifically, 11 car makers, 23 countries committed to transitioning to sell only zero emission vehicles. And China did end up making a commitment with the US, with John Kerry. But that was really one of the concerns, obviously, was their lack of presence. Despite all that, where are we now? I mean, the pledges are not going to get us where we need to go. 2.7 degrees, which is massive. As we say, 4 degrees was about the time of the dinosaurs, was about 4 degrees hotter, and you had alligators above the Arctic Circle. 2.7 degrees is incredibly scary, and no single country has sufficient short-term policies in place to put themselves on track to meet their net zero targets, although some do have binding commitments, which is a big difference we can talk about. So again, why were they there? So, I was there to, this is a global problem, and we need global action, but Silicon Valley, of course, is a global technology leader. So I was there to talk about how California has made progress, and we have made a lot of progress. We've reduced our emissions 20% per capita. And in the same time period we've done that, we've increased our revenue, our top line is state by 60%. So we've grown that 60% while reducing carbon emissions 20% per capita. And again, we are the home of innovation, and a lot of what we need to do is make the cost of technologies, reasonable for the rest of the world. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And so we want to provide policies for others to copy, and there's a carbon border adjustment in my cement bill that we'll talk about, and what we've done with solar and other areas. And then the other part was just to listen and to see what were best practices from other parts of the world, other states or other countries that we can bring back, because people are leading in many different ways. And I don't know if some of you saw in Palo Alto, the Danish environment minister was here just recently. I had dinner with her. And we want to take the evidence-based practices from the Nordic countries and spread those across California, Oregon, Washington State, and British Columbia. And that's very powerful. So another thing, for example, is offshore wind. So before this, I went to Portugal, before Glasgow, and went 10 miles off the coast to see floating offshore wind, which is the kind of offshore wind we are going to need here in California. And we believe that can provide 10 gigawatts for us over time once we clear the barriers for it to do so. So that was one thing that I was learning about on the trip. I mentioned solar technology. Why? Because we've driven down the cost 90% over the last 10 years. It's something like 300% over the last 40 years. Solar has come down. That's not just California. Germany did a lot of that with their policies. But that's significant. It's the kind of thing that we need to do. And that's the kind of thing I'm hoping to do in the cement industry with my bill. That was the first bill to get to net zero, to have a net zero target for any specific sector in California. And the first one to target in the country that area specifically. And again, we want to bring down the cost of low carbon cement now for the rest of the country and the rest of the world. Electric cars are now our largest export as a state. So again, it shows this is the biggest challenge we've ever faced, but also the biggest economic opportunity, really, of our lifetimes. Kirsten mentioned the subcommittee that I'll be starting with next year. I'll mention that again more in a moment. And we won't go through this. You might remember this slide from I think when I was was this the first presentation when I was elected, or maybe not quite elected yet. We did a Sustainable San Mateo County event, and I presented this slide probably for the first time. And I just like to remind people and remind myself where our mission is coming from, and we can make sure we're focused on bang for the buck. So we need to do 100% clean electricity. Electricity is about 15% of our greenhouse gas emissions, and we do that through energy storage, dispatchable clean energy, and really something that we can work with the building trades on is building all that clean energy infrastructure that's not correlated with solar and onshore wind. Things like geothermal, long duration storage, offshore wind, of course, as well as demand response, which I hope you guys are all taking advantage of through personal demand response options like Connect and others. And then there's transportation. Transportation about 50%, so we can see the 40% there for passenger vehicles, but also 10% of the industrials is from transportation of those industrial emissions. Buildings, as we know, San Mateo County and all the cities have been leaders in all electric new construction. That's about 10% of our emissions. We got a lot of work to do there. And then reducing methane, agriculture, industrial, all these other areas. So my bill we had last year, and we're working on a new version of this, is to get 24/7 clean energy. And as you can see from that chart, which, we're doing great during the day with solar and onshore wind. But it's really that peak, that time from people coming home, plugging in their cars now. The peak is really now moved. It's from 4 or 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And especially in the winter, as the sun is going down, as it today, and this was a chart from October 20th of this year, we're using 80–90% fossil fuels. And so we really need to focus on that. Fortunately, Peninsula Clean Energy, led by Jan Pepper, is doing that and is the leader on 100% clean energy and on 24/7 effort, and already providing clean electricity on an annual accounting basis, pioneering 24/7 efforts. Maybe we should talk about tonight a new white paper they just did, Path to 24/7 Clean Energy. And we'll be speaking at my committee on the clean energy future. We're going to have a hearing on efforts to reach 24/7 by the leading entities in our state that are doing that, which is Peninsula Clean Energy, Silicon Valley Clean Energy, SMUD, are leading the way here. And so again, that's the way. That's really again the opportunity for me is to work in conjunction, help support the efforts of PCE in the cities here, and then help take those stories and the great efforts and being done around helping expand, making sure low-income consumers, for example, can transition their vehicles, can get e-bikes, can transition their buildings, and then take those success stories back to Sacramento. So that's an incredibly important partnership. Speaking of that, this bill we had last year did not get through. We'll be back, but again, it's all an effort of, and again, a lot of the work is, I've realized, is not just through legislature, it's through the agencies. And so led by folks in this area, we've been very active in pounding the agencies in the governor's office around multifamily and making sure that these 90,000 buildings that are now going to be built, 90,000 units without charging, we got to make sure we build charging into that. So a lot of strides were made by the California Energy Commission, but not enough. And also we need to make these vehicles affordable, especially used EVs. And that's our effort there. Why tackle concrete? Cement is 90% of the emissions from concrete. I was just at Lehigh yesterday. Happy to talk about that. 7% of the world's global emissions estimates are from cement. Cement was the country with their largest emitter. And it's 40% energy emissions are because it's energy intensive. And then 60% are process emissions, just emissions that come up from the production when cement is produced. And it's a tough problem, so we have to get started. And so we got signed into law 596 in our first year with 2045 net zero for cement. This is again, first time we've had a net zero target for any sector of the California economy, with 40% by 2035. And we'll be back next year is with a buy clean provision. So to make sure that the state, which buys 40% of the concrete, again, cement is the flour, say in the cake of concrete, that the state is purchasing that low carbon concrete and cement. So, you know, lots to do. This was the effort that I announced in Glasgow to try to get the state government for scope 1 and scope 2 to be net zero by 2035, to be a leader. That'll help on transportation, on buildings, and many other areas. And that was great. I was very gratified. The Biden administration yesterday came out and said they're going to get to, we're going to get to our federal government to net zero by 2050 for the federal government. So again, we can set the example here and lead in California as we've done. Build clean faster. This is something that we're thinking a lot about. How can we build these projects and really transmission lines and not spend all this money on lawyers and get caught up in red tape? Very tough problem to solve, but that's one we're committed to working on this year. And then many other ideas. Low carbon fuel standard for those energy geeks out there. You'll know low carbon fuel standard has been a fantastic program here, and but we can actually ramp up its ambition and include airlines and maritime, for example. A lot of water things we're looking at as well. And there's of course also the Water Energy Nexus. Had a good call with Buzz Thompson at Stanford today on water policies, and looking at, you know, again, a whole bunch of other areas as well. So you might see our blog. We have a post. I have a post going up today. I was just working on an offshore wind that'll go up today or maybe Monday on the blog, and love your feedback on that. And that's it. So I just want to appreciate Kirsten and the team and you all Christine for inviting me, and happy to do a little Q&A.
Well, fabulous. Thank you so much. Here's my clapping. I know everybody else is thankful to have you here too. Yeah, we'll just do a little virtual clapping. And you are doing amazing work. And I'm going to look in here. I'll look at a couple of questions while we still have you here. Tom Cabot asks, does it make sense to transition a fraction like 20% of the portfolio to 24/7 to see what the costs are for that first part? And then I don't know, the question before that, steel's not great either. Straw and wood are much better in talking about cement.
Yeah, well, steel's a big part. No, steel's actually part of Buy Clean California right now. It's actually easier to put in there. So we did get that in, which is good. Although we have a lot of work to do in all those hard to decarbonize industries. Tom, I'll follow up with you. I want to see make sure what you mean by that. By the way, I want to thank Tom and Josie with inspiration for our SB 68, which is removing obstacles to electrification for buildings. And I really appreciate that and all the leadership there. But I'll have to follow up with you to make sure I understand what you mean by that. So maybe we could do for a larger point, or have maybe Jan will address it in her remarks.
And then there's another question here. Yeah, we can follow up with Tom on that. Elaine asked, could you ask Josh Becker, Senator Becker, if he uses En-ROADS, the climate change simulator website created by MIT Sloan, to help write the most effective legislation and develop ideas?
I actually don't know about it. So that's
Okay.
cool. We'll take a look. I know Helen from my team is on. You might know Helen, and then we got Ken up in the Capitol. So yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Okay, yeah, it's EN/ROADS, the climate change simulator website.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How can we get national and/or state legislation for carbon pricing?
Well, we do have so national, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the solution at the federal level is just so simple, because the Republicans who do talk about climate, the Conservative Climate Caucus, which could be all talk or whatever, but they're very concerned about China and China's emissions, and so the solution at the federal level is obvious, that we need a price on carbon, which even a lot of companies now have been asking for. And then we need a border carbon adjustment, which will serve as a tax on China, on goods from China, if China is not decarbonizing itself at a fast enough pace. So I think that's the huge win-win at the federal level, and that just needs to happen. And of course, it can be a cap and dividend, as many folks here have been working on this as in climate lobby, and that we make sure that we're bringing everyone along, and low-income folks are not disadvantaged in that switch. So that's really the obvious solution at the national level, and we got to keep pushing for that. Here, of course, we do have a price on carbon. It's a cap and trade. It's not a pure carbon tax, which I would have preferred. But we've done some great work, but it's not a perfect system. I'm really glad we have Davina Hurt now from our area on the California Air Resources Board to help fix some of that. Washington State did an incredible cap and invest. My friend Ruben Carlisle, who I was in Glasgow with, they really fixed a lot of the problems that are inherent in our cap and trade system. And now they want to link up with us. So by linking up with them, we can hopefully fix some of the issues in ours. The only good news is that after bumping along at the bottom of our market at $18 a ton, when Europe was at $60 a ton, we finally now have some momentum, and the carbon price, I think people see some of what's happening, and the carbon price has been going up, which will also mean, of course, a lot more revenue. And that's a whole separate discussion, which I'm very focused on this year, is how do we use that revenue to really bring everyone along? I'm not super happy with the way that those funds are being used today. So that's a whole other topic. So a lot packed into carbon pricing, but hopefully that's a good summary.
Right, that's great. Yeah, thank you. And I think if we can ask you one last question, because I know our time's running out, but I see a question from David. Where does the state stand in encouraging more research into energy generated by the ocean, not just wind, but from waves action, ocean temperature differentials?
Yeah, I mean, we have the EPIC funds. I mean, that's one of the things the EPIC with the California Energy Commission that administers, and it's quite a large sum of money. I mean, it's $1 billion, not every year, but it's quite a big sum. So I'd have to check with them to see what they've done. I mean, I think, having been in the space a long time, I have my own venture firm in clean energy, 15 years ago. It's, there's certain areas that are always 5 to 10 years away. And I have to say, it does feel like some of the ocean and tidal energy is sort of always 5 to 10 years away. But doesn't mean it's not worth exploring. Of course, we have to explore everything. And so, yeah, I'll check with David Hochschild. He was in Portugal with me and in Glasgow with me. And he's, the fantastic leader of our California Energy Commission. So I'll check with him to see if any EPIC funds are being used for that.
All right, well, terrific. Well, we really appreciate you taking time to be with us here tonight, and wish you happy holidays with you and your family. And thanks for doing such a great job representing all of us in the legislature. We really think, you're just fabulous. And thanks for all your energy and your time and your effort and your knowledge, et cetera.
Well, thank you all. And thanks for pushing at the city level, again, at the county level, and helping us at we need a lot of work. We need a lot of help also. As you know, we only got 14 votes out of 40 in the California State Senate to codify 2045 carbon neutrality. So we need help at the state level as well. and happy to engage with any of you guys offline, myself and Helen. And yeah, I'll be in transit. I got a number of different events, but I'm going to try to listen in to Jan as well. So good.
Yes.
Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we are really excited also to have Jan Pepper this evening. She is our Chief Executive Officer of Peninsula Clean Energy, as Josh was just mentioning, doing fabulous work. Jan has over 30 years of energy and utility experience with a focus on renewable energy contracting and financing. And okay, the screens are changing there. She joined Peninsula Clean Energy as the CEO in May 2016 and as the first employee, and has grown the organization to its current state, which is amazing. The organization is reducing greenhouse gas emissions by delivering 100% clean, greenhouse gas-free electricity to almost all of the residents and businesses in San Mateo County. That is huge. And they're working to transition transportation and building energy use to use this clean electricity as well. Jan was elected to the City Council of Los Altos in 2012 and served as mayor from December 2014 to December 2015. She was re-elected in 2016 for a second four-year term and served as mayor in the year of 2020. She served on the board of directors of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District from 2013 to February of 2017. She earned a BS in civil engineering and an MBA, both from Stanford. Jan is a registered professional engineer in California. She formerly worked at Silicon Valley Power, and she has founded 4 energy-related startups. At APX, she developed and pioneered the first use of renewable energy credits, which are now the standard currency for trading and tracking renewable power. So Jan has just done amazing work, and we are thrilled to have Jan on our side here in San Mateo County. So Jan, with that, welcome, and I'll clap to welcome you and take it away.
Thank you so much for that very nice introduction. And it's great to see so many people here and to know that there are so many people in this county who are interested in sustainable energy, which is partly why PCE was able to be formed. So, and I'm also inspired by Josh's commitment to clean energy, and we're so happy to be able to work with him and to think about new legislation that we can do, especially on the 24/7 side, that is workable for us in industry. I'm joined tonight by a few of my colleagues from Peninsula Clean Energy. I see KJ Janowski, who's our Director of Marketing and Community Relations, Kirsten Andrews Schwinn, who was our Senior Manager of Community Relations, and Vanessa Shin, who is our Community Relations Outreach person. And Vanessa is going to be helping with the slides. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And a number of our community advisory members are on the call tonight too. So thank you so much for all being here. If we can go to the next slide, Vanessa. So we have a 24/7 renewable power goal. So we'll talk a little bit about what this means. In this year, 2021, we procured 100% renewable or carbon-free power for our 300,000 customer accounts, covering all the businesses and residents in San Mateo County. And our goal is to cost-effectively deliver 100% renewable energy every hour of every day by 2025. So we published a paper that came out on December 1st, and it's available on our website, and encourage all of you to go take a look at that. Our goal is the most aggressive of any load-serving entity or a corporation, and we really want to push the envelope in this industry. We believe this can be done, and we want to provide an example for others to follow in California, the country, and across the nation. Next slide, please. So why do we want to do this? Why do we want to match our electric load every hour of every day? Well, we want to do this because it will eliminate the demand signal for fossil-based electricity from the grid. And I'll get into this a little bit more. It will reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we want to demonstrate that this is possible to do, and it's possible to do it cost effectively. Right now, our delivery of 100% carbon-free electricity, we're doing that at 5% below what PG&E was delivering power for. So we're saving our residents and businesses about $18 million a year by delivering cleaner electricity than they were getting before. So it's possible to be clean and green and less expensive. Next slide, please. If we were to look at our current emissions footprint, and what this shows is the hour of the day on the left-hand side from midnight all the way through the day to noon and then to midnight again, and then every month of the year from January through December. And the green areas are where our carbon intensity is 0, where we're 100% carbon free. And the areas where it's redder is where we're not. And at this point in time, we are actually matching renewables to our load on a 24/7 basis by 47% right now. And on an annual basis, we're delivering renewables 52% of the time, or we've contracted for renewables for 50%, 52% of our load, and greenhouse gas free, which is large hydro, for the other 48% of our load. So by 2025, we want this picture to be all green. Every hour of every day is going to be 0 carbon intensity. And this is how we're going to do it. Next slide, please. There's 3 steps that we're going to take. So the next slide. So the black line, the black solid line, the curvy line there, shows what our load is every hour of every day, or on an average for the year. And you can see that it dips down during the early morning hours. It starts to go up in the morning. It gets kind of flat during the day, and then it goes up in the evening and then starts going down when we all go to sleep. And what we want to do is to match this on a 24/7 basis. So there's 3 steps we're going to take. The first step is when we already do, which is to diversify our supply portfolio with lots of different renewables, including wind, solar, geothermal, small hydro. And some of these are available 24 hours a day, like the geothermal. Others are intermittent, just when the sun shines or the wind blows. Then the second step is to use energy storage to store excess renewables during the time they're producing more. So like if you look at this, the area where there's the lined areas, the green lines and the yellow lines, that's excess storage solar that's being produced. And we're going to store that. Those green lines represent the amount we're going to put into batteries or other types of storage. And then we're going to use that storage, which is the dark green solid areas, and put that into the grid to meet our load at other hours of the day. And then the third step is to use other technologies on the load side to encourage more energy usage during the solar hours and reduce energy usage during the evening peak. So if we go to the next slide, there are some challenges that we face. For example, as Josh noted, more solar is produced in the summer than in the winter. So we need to find other technologies in the winter to fill that need. And the paper that we published is the first start. It's talking about our approach and why we're doing it, what the challenges are. And the next step is for us to complete our modeling that we've been spending the last few months doing, and the economic analysis to come up with the exact mix of resources to meet this goal in a cost-effective manner. If we go to the next slide, we are partnering with our communities here in the county, and this pie chart shows the emissions projection for San Mateo County for 2021. So electricity is very small because PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy, is providing 100% renewable and carbon-free electricity. It's not 0 because there's some companies that buy power from other suppliers and they're not providing 100% clean energy like we are. So our focus now is also on transportation and buildings, getting people out of their gasoline cars into electric vehicles and having new buildings be all electric through REACH codes, and working to get existing buildings to be all electric as well. If we go to the next slide, it talks about some of the programs that we're offering right now. For example, we're offering an incentive for people to get into used electric vehicles. We provide $1,000 to $4,000, depending on whether you're income qualified. We also providing rebates of $1,250 for people to have solar and battery systems at their homes. We have an incentive for folks to transition from a gas water heater to an electric heat pump water heater, and we're providing a $2,000 incentive along with combined with the incentive from BayREN, another organization. we're offering $200 for someone to go rent an electric vehicle for a weekend and try it out and see how you like it. So there's more information about all of these programs on our website. So the last slide I have here for tonight is go ahead and read our white paper. Please go to our website, peninsulacleanenergy.com. There should be an M after that, co.com, for our 24/7 white paper. And then just please go through our website. We have lots and lots of interesting information there to help you understand what we're doing and how you can be involved. So thank you. Thanks so much for having me here tonight.
Jan, thank you so much. You are obviously, an amazing wealth of knowledge and a fabulous CEO for Peninsula Clean Energy. And we're really happy to partner with you and do all this wonderful work and support you in that. So I'm going to go into the chat, and at this point, we wanted to have sort of a group discussion. And Christine, I'm not sure if you want to take that on, and Leanne, I know you have some trivia questions as well.
Yeah, so thank you, Kirsten. So I think let me just reshare my screen. Or did you want to take a few questions for Jan at this point, and then we can, talk more?
Why don't you go ahead and do those trivia questions?
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
That sounds like a plan.
We're on schedule.
There. Oops, bear with me. And we are actually going to have Susie, who is going to run. Oh, I don't know why it didn't go. Okay, bear with me. So Susie is going to guide us through the trivia question.
All right, we have Leanne to thank for this month's topic. As people know who come every month, we like to have a little trivia. This month is related to December and it being chilly out. So first question is, what are the benefits of electric fireplaces over gas? A, easier and less expensive to install and maintain. B, safer than gas. C, healthier for indoor air. Or D, all of the above. And I forgot to encourage you to put your answers in the chat. Those of you who've been here before know to do that. But feel free to pop your answers in. And it looks like the consensus is D, and that is correct. All of the above. It is great. I was reading up on this just recently, and it is amazing how easy it is to install these things and how realistic they can look. Mm-hmm. Next question. When wood is burned in a fire, including a fireplace, the smoke that results contains the following: A, particulate pollution, otherwise known as particulate matter. B, benzene. C, formaldehyde. D, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. And E, all of the above. Let's see. Boy, everybody, okay, we've got mostly E's and A. And again, we do have, it is E, it is all of the above. Something you don't normally think about, something I don't normally think about when I'm burning a fire. So it's yet another reason why it's a good idea to think about changing to electric.
Yeah, that's true. Oh,
yeah, and then we have the follow-up. Did you know it's the smoke from wood burning has a lot of toxic pollutants in it, which are not good for people who have asthma. It makes their symptoms worse. And it can also trigger heart attacks, stroke, irregular heart rhythms, and heart failure, especially in people already at risk for these conditions. So go out and research electric fireplaces now.
Great, thank you for those trivia questions. And now I think we would love to, Jan, we'd love to ask you some questions that are popping up in the chat prior to the questions. And one of them, somebody asked, well, productivity of solar panels and seasonal differences in the length of the day is a factor in the seasonal look of the chart. So that was helpful, thank you. And John's asking, can you please say more about how you shape and shift the load to match supply?
Sure. So one of the ways would be, for example, if people have electric vehicles, encouraging them to charge those vehicles during the daytime when we have a lot of solar energy, and not during the evening peak. So rather than coming home and plugging in your car at 6 p.m. when there's so much additional load on the system, maybe you can charge your car at work or at home during the day, or charge it in the middle of the night, have it set it so that it starts charging at midnight or 2 a.m. or something like that. So that's one way of shaping and shifting the load.
Great, yes. We have ours set to charge after 11 p.m. But if you suggest after midnight, we will change that too.
Either is fine. Actually, you look at your rates, everyone has been transitioned to what's called a time of use rate. So the rates are much higher between 4 and 9 p.m. Don't charge your car during those times because it's going to cost you more. And yeah, look at your rate schedule and charge during the times where your rate is the least expensive.
And thank you for that. Yes. Another question is, would building solar farms in California help with storing energy?
Yes, and that is actually what we're doing. We're building solar farms along with energy storage. So just in the past couple of months, we've signed what are called power purchase agreements for new solar projects that will be built. They're each about 100 megawatts of solar and 50 megawatts of storage. So about half of the solar energy can be stored in the batteries, about 4 hours worth of the solar production, and then we can use that stored energy and put it into the grid later at night to match our customers' usage.
Okay, great. And then another, I'll ask a couple of these questions that have come in. Is PCE working to promote V2G, electric vehicle to grid, to time shift and use distributed electric storage to provide green energy 24/7? I think you kind of answered that actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's slightly different where you could use your car, and if your car is fully charged, if you have an electric car, then you can use the power from that car to power your house or power your building. So building vehicle to grid or vehicle to building. And we are starting on some pilots to investigate that further.
Is anybody else like in another state ahead on this than we are, or no?
I think there are a lot of people investigating it. And one of the constraints is the car manufacturers don't really want you to do that. So some of them, though, are transitioning away from that. For example, Ford, if you saw their ad, where was that? For, I forget what it was, but their F-150, they're showing you plugging that into your house, and all of a sudden the lights on your house go on. So we're moving in the right direction.
Right, especially when we see Ford doing that. Okay, and then let's see, I'm looking through, how big a role does residential rooftop solar play versus large grade or farm solar?
It actually plays a pretty big role, and there are a lot of rooftop solar systems in the county. And again, we're encouraging people to add storage to those systems. We'll give them an incentive to add that storage, because then we can provide additional reliability to the state during those evening peak hours. And we have a program on that right now called Power on Peninsula. You can find it on our website. And it's important that we work with solar, whether it's on your rooftop or whether it's out in the middle of the desert.
And is that the one you showed that has, I think it was a $1,250 rebate?
Yes. Yeah.
But then can you give us, people on the Zoom meeting, an idea, how much does it cost to do that fully? If you have
yeah, that's a good question. I don't have those numbers right at the tip of my fingers, but that's something we can probably get back to you with, that you can share with people who are here. Or I don't know if anyone else here from Peninsula Clean Energy has some data on that. I don't think.
Okay, that's
yeah.
something if you can put in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself, or we can get that information, because I saw the rebate and I thought, well, I'd like to do that, but I don't really know where to get started with that one. Let's see, how do you see San Mateo County being a leader in getting to 24/7 clean energy? And what are some innovations, technology, policy, markets on the horizon enabling this?
Hey, Kirsten, that's actually our guiding question. So
I thought I'll let you take it over.
No, I'm super interested in hearing Jan's response to that. And then I think I'd love to also open it up to the group so that we can have a little bit of an exchange.
Perfect.
So Jan, if you want, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, on the policy side, we're actually working with Josh Becker and his team to put together the legislation. We're talking to him about what that legislation might look like and how we can transition the grid to 24/7. So some of the innovations are on the technology side, certainly on storage, longer term storage, seasonal storage, and getting the prices down for those. Also, other types of technologies like offshore wind that may have a different kind of profile as to when it generates. It may be more stable than onshore wind. So those are out in the future. They're past our 2025 goal, but we will be certainly looking at those technologies and adding those in over time. It's certainly curious as to what the rest of the people on this call have to say about all this.
Yeah, and this would be, I know we have more questions for Jan, but this would be a great time to have a group discussion. So if you'd like to speak, please feel free to unmute yourself. If I don't see anybody doing that, then I'll continue asking Jan questions, but we certainly would love to hear from you.
Hey, we have a quiet group tonight. Come on, speak up.
Okay, well, I'm going, if you want to, please feel free to interrupt me. I don't mind. I will ask a question. Somebody asks, Jan, should we use gas or electricity to heat our home in the evening in terms of emissions?
Well, I think as we saw before, using electricity is better. So if you have a heat pump space heating, then the emissions that are produced from burning methane gas will not be there. So that would be the best option in terms of emissions, to go to electricity.
So does that mean people using their little electric heaters that they plug into the wall too?
If you use those rather than turning on your gas heater, the emissions will be less.
Okay.
The efficiency for those little heaters that you plug into the wall may not be as good as a heat pump based space heater, but certainly the emissions will be less.
Okay. And
I see that Terry, our chair, has her hand up.
great. Our president
Yeah,
of our board. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Jan, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. What are some of the misconceptions that you hear about electrification when you're talking to people who are considering this change?
I guess some of the concerns are, is there enough clean electricity on the grid to support these technologies? And the answer to that is yes, there is, because first of all, everything's not going to happen overnight. And as we transition to it, there's more and more renewable power projects that are being built. So there is sufficient resources on the grid to do it. The other part of this story is the distribution system and making sure that the distribution system also gets upgraded at the same time. But just like back in the 70s, when people started putting in air conditioning, PG&E started upgrading the grid to allow for that extra electrical load. And the same for this, as people transition to more electric use in their homes, PG&E will have the opportunity to upgrade the grid to handle more electric usage and less gas usage, and start reducing their investment in their gas infrastructure and put that into the electric infrastructure.
Is there a concern about resiliency during power outages too with electrification?
People do have concerns about that, but actually, if you look at your gas appliances, they often have electric starters. So if the electricity is out, you're still not going to be able to use your gas appliance. But also if you know, as we transition, if you have a solar plus storage system, then you have the backup with the storage. If you eventually have an electric car, that you can draw the power from that electric car to power your home, then you have the backup for there. I also wanted to respond to your question about the cost of the storage. So it will depend, and KJ from our team put a response in the chat. The cost will actually depend on the size of the system. So we recommend that you get a bid. We're working with our partner Sunrun. And if you get a bid from them, then you can see what the cost is going to be, because it depends. Every home is different. And so every solution is going to be slightly different.
Hey, Jan, it's Larry, and I think you're getting a point in Terry's question. I have a pretty basic situation scenario here. If we go to solar in our home, but we currently have a gas range, gas furnace, etc., is there any way to, I don't know what the right word is, convert or use those? Or are we forced to get electric ranges and furnaces? You know, it's going to get pretty expensive. I want your input on that.
Well, you can still use your gas appliances, and our suggestion would be that once you need to replace those with all electric. So you can put the solar on to power your electric needs that you have right now for lighting and whatever else that you have, your refrigeration, garage door opener, things like that. Okay. And then, you know, once you need to replace your stovetop, then put in an electric stovetop. Once you need to replace your water heater, put in a heat pump water heater. Once you need to replace your space heating, put in electric heat pump space heating.
Is there any way to know the breakdown of what percentage of our overall energy is going to the gas appliances, so then we would know absolutely that, you know, because in other words, you want to go to solar if it's going to pay. If these are not a huge element, that's fine. I agree with you. But if these are huge users of energy now, then does that make sense where I'm coming from in that question?
I think your question is how much power are you using, for example, for cooking?
The gas, exactly.
For your gas. There's probably a way to look at your bill and see how much gas usage you have. I don't know offhand how you measure how you would be able to measure how much gas is being used for your different appliances, but there's probably a way to figure that out.
All right, maybe somebody else here on the call today can help, or we can check further with.
Yeah, I'm sure someone here. I bet Tom Cabot has an answer for that.
Okay.
And it looks like I see a hand up for Jilla Afjal. I'm sorry if I pronounced that Afjay. Did you have a question?
Yes, Jan, just wanted to see if you see a future in self-sustaining energy producing with the solar panels, like basically not needing PG&E to deliver, like being independent of the power companies.
Well, that's kind of a personal choice. Right now, by being interconnected to PG&E, if you had a solar plus a storage system, if there are times where it doesn't quite exactly match for your own home on a 24/7 basis, then PG&E is there to back you up. And if you produce more solar during the day, you would input that extra solar. We as Peninsula Clean Energy will compensate you for that extra solar that you're putting into the grid. So you'll get a financial benefit from that. But there are people who live off the grid, and it's a more complex problem to solve with the kind of appliances and things like that you need, but it's possible, certainly.
Great.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the question. And I know it's 6:30, and so we're going to close soon, but I want to get to Leanne with the final question. So Leanne, with your hand up, please.
I was just interested on about onshore large scale wind turbines. I talked to Paul Geip, I think it is, a long time ago, and he said, you know, Boston uses these huge wind turbines, and they generate a lot of energy for the Boston Bay Area. I was just curious. He seemed to think that our Bay Area is woefully under
Powered by wind power.
yeah, with the large scale.
Well, there are certain locations in the state that are really good for wind. The Altamont Pass out past between Livermore and Tracy is one of the more developed areas in the Bay Area. And a lot of the projects out there are starting to repower the projects, which means they're taking down the small wind turbines that are out there and replacing them with large ones. There's also some development up in the Solano County area. And in fact, we just signed a power purchase agreement for a project in Merced County near the San Luis Reservoir in the Pacheco Pass area. And for that project, there is an old project there with the small wind turbines. They're going to be taking those down and putting up the large, more efficient wind turbines. So that it is happening. You need to have a certain wind speed to make it economical to put the really big turbines in. And
Yeah.
there's certain locations in the state, in the Tehachapi area and also Palm Springs area are the other two most common areas in the state that have the best wind resource.
Feels like it may be changing. There's an awful lot of wind this year. So I don't know. We'll see. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to say thank you also to Senator Becker and to Jan Pepper. We really appreciate you coming here and enlightening us and you know, just spending time with us to ask questions. It's been a great opportunity. And Christine, I will pass it over to you now.
Thank you so much. And me too, I extend my thanks to our fabulous speakers and to you as well, Kirsten, for a great moderation. And thank you everyone just for coming, being engaged and asking questions, because I think that's what it will take. I mean, we need to build understanding. We need to be able to collaborate. And, you know, when you put like different minds together, that's when the magic happens. So thank you for helping us make the magic happen today. And again, a reminder that our next happy hour is on January the 20th. So next year already. So please do save the date. And with that, I would like to wish you all a wonderful holiday season. And put on the sweater. Sometimes you don't have to turn on the electricity or the gas. So go and grab one of these ugly sweaters to be wrapped around and be all cozy. And I hope you will stay involved and please stay in touch with us. Thank you again. Bye-bye.